Assalamu alaikum students. I am Ms. Aisha Abid from Army Public School and College, Hanewal. I welcome you all in our Class 8 Subject Biology Week 5th by APSEX Online Support Program. Our topic is 1 and your teacher is Ms. Aisha Abid. Our topic today will be Introduction towards solving a biological problem. Objective, we will be able to understand the concept of biological problem and how we can solve it. So before directly starting our topic of solving biological problem, first we have to get a clue about what is science. Science, I hope that you already know that what is science. Science is all about getting answers to the questions which come to your mind when you see objects around you. And those questions are why, when, how, where, who, and what. So, science is basically a way to organize what we already know and learning more by experiments. So, what are experiments? Experiments are the key feature of science. So, science, according to your book, is a systemized knowledge which is derived from observations and experimentations. And as you know, there are a lot of branches of science. Here, we will discuss about only biology. Other branches are chemistry and physics also. So, who is a scientist basically? Scientist is basically a person who is studying science, whether he is studying the branch of science like chemistry, biology, physics, he is a scientist. Scientists use the scientific method to learn about the world. There are different kinds of scientists which are named after what they study. A biologist study biology. A zoologist, as we already learned that the person who studies zoology is called zoologist. So who is a zoologist? Zoologist is studying animals. So there are botanists, chemists, geologists, astronomers, as you know, and many more according to the discipline they are studying. So in science, the main part is experimentations. The scientists are basically doing experimentations and observing things so that the queries about nature can be solved. Let's come towards the term experiments. What are experiments? They are carried out to determine the principles about how nature works. For example, how comes that plants make their own food? Scientists perform experiments to know the exact phenomena of photosynthesis. The main question which come to your mind that why does sky look blue? Why water is colorless? All these questions they are proved with the help of experiments. Next, in this chapter, we will be able to study different steps of biological problem. But first, we have to know that what is a biological problem and what are those biological methods through which those biological problems are solved. So let's explore. So we just have to watch this video in order to clear our
Scientists are always
concepts.
curious about the world and how everything works and why it works. And they are interested in inventing new things and making things that have already been invented even better. While scientists are doing their work of discovery and experimenting, they use a kind of roadmap. It's called the scientific method. The scientific method is a series of steps to perform to figure things out, to get to the bottom of things, to discover the answers to the questions of what and why and how things work and to make them work better. Look at a light bulb, not an LED, but an incandescent light bulb, one that has a glowing filament. How do you think we got the light bulb? The light bulb was not invented by just one man. The development of the light bulb took many years and many experiments, and many men all working the scientific method to invent one of the most important discoveries ever.
So there was a simple introduction towards what we are going to study about biological method. So, biological method is also known as scientific method, since in biological method we are going to study living organisms and all those methods and processes in which living organisms are involved. So, the scientific method in which biological problems are solved is basically termed as biological method. It comprises the steps a biologist adopts to solve a particular biological problem. What is a biological problem? Biological problem is basically question, the questions about living organisms or living things, and have provided those living organisms have provided the problems man has investigated to aid his own survival and satisfy his desire to know. Like when you wonder, you ask questions, and then the scientists, what is their duty? Their duty is to find answers to those questions. In our course, we will be taking malaria as an example of biological problem, and then we are going to apply biological method in order to solve that problem, which is malaria. So basically, a biological problem, it is a question which is related to living organisms. As you can see, it is biological problem, so it must be including living organisms. So a biological problem is a question which is either asked by someone or it comes to the biologist's mind by himself. Biological method has played an important role in scientific research for almost 500 years, from Galileo's experiments in 1590 back in 1500s to the current research in biological method has contributed to the advancement in medicine, ecology, and technology as well. Biological method also ensures the quality of data for public use. It means that from the very early times, like in 1500s, Galileo, this person, he made a lot of experiments and proved to be beneficial for a lot of medical sciences in ecology and in technology. And from those years, the scientific research has not stopped. Scientists, they make their contribution towards medicine in ecology and biotechnology, and this method, which is biological method, has played important role in solving various problems. For example, malaria, it is now a solved problem because we know how can we cure it. And this all credit has gone to the scientists which who keep on experimenting on this problem. Biological methods also ensures the quality of data for public use. So that was all for today's lesson. Let's have a quick recap about what we have learned. We learned about that in solving a biological problem, we have to get to know that problem exactly. But first, we studied about what is science. Science is all about questioning about the surrounding which is around us. Then we came to know that what are scientists? Anyone or any person who is studying any particular discipline of science. It may be chemistry, it may be biology, it may be physics, or if we go out of the way, we find different scientists in the field of geology, all those persons which are studying the earth and its properties are geologists, astronomers, the person which are studying space and doing research on space. Then we studied about what is biological problem, which is basically a question which comes to a biologist mind or asked by someone to a biologist. Then we know about biological method, what it is exactly. Biological method, it is a process through which this biological problem is solved. So we learned much from our today's lesson. Let's have a review of this video.
Have you ever had a question about the world? Like what plants need to grow? Or how to blow bigger bubbles? There is a way to find the answer to these and other questions that is used by scientists. It is called the scientific method. If you use it, you can be a scientist too. The scientific method is a way to ask and answer scientific questions by making observations and doing experiments.
So that was all for today's lesson. But you have to make sure what we have learned in our lesson, that we came to know that we can solve any of the biological problem by using our biological method. And in this method, what we learned that by adopting different strategies in a biological method, we can be scientists and we can solve a particular biological problem. So if you have any question regarding our today's lesson, feel free to ask me. And do not forget to learn what we already learned in our today's lesson, and make sure that you know what exactly a biological method and biological problem is, and keep all the key points in your mind about science, scientist, biological method, and biological problem. And another important point is that you have to know that we will be studying malaria as an example of our biological problem, which is solved by the scientists following this biological method. So, thank you so much for your attention. I hope you understand today's lesson very clearly. Allah Hafiz.